services started. I'm excited to be able to offer this training with my team that's here with me today. My co-presenter and team leader is Camille Edwards.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Camille Edwards. I am a transition trainer as well as team lead here with the transition department. We do have several of our transition specialists throughout the county here on this call today with us, and we'll be sharing some more information. I am a Broward County Public School graduate. I attended Broward schools from 4th grade on to graduation, and I have served previously as a support facilitator and now the last few years as a transition specialist. So I'm excited to be here and excited to share some information with you all.
Before we get into our meeting norms, I'd also like to take the time to introduce our Director of Compliance, Ms. Stephanie Acosta Castro.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This is a series that's going to be taking place throughout the school year. We're very excited about it. Each session will have different highlights. The team has put a lot of work into this. As Stacy said, I have the honor and pleasure of leading transition as one of the things that I have in my purview. And I'm just so excited about this opportunity that's being made available for you and for your community. So please share this forward. We are excited to have you here and have a great night.
Thank you, Stephanie. Let's go ahead and move into our session norms just to lay some ground rules for the flow of the evening.
All right, everyone. So just so you're aware, this session will be recorded. Every session that we have on every second Tuesday of the month, we will record these sessions. So we just want you to be mindful of a few things as we're recording. One, we want to be mindful of confidentiality. So even while you're in the chat, just be sure that you're not expressly letting us know what student or what school they, attend as you're asking your questions or you're, reaching out to us. We will provide our email address so that we can get specific details regarding any concerns or questions that you all may have. We would like you all to utilize the chat. I believe I have opened it up for everyone to see. Felicia Taylor is on here. She's one of our transition specialists in the North region, and she will be monitoring the chat for us. And at the very end of this session, we will open it up so that we can address some of your questions, comments, or concerns there. Please remain muted at all times. We're going to be speaking during the session about transition service overview tonight, and we want to make sure that all of the information is gathered so that we're recording and we will upload this to our YouTube channel. There is a YouTube channel that has been created. It's at Tap Broward. If you can view the screen, it says it, and we'll actually type it in the chat as well so that you're aware of how to receive this recording. Let's say you're not able to remain with us for the duration of this session, at least you'll have access to this recording or to watch it again, because we're going to provide you with a lot of information. So please feel free to utilize the chat. We love that. Please remain muted at all times so that we can not, receive background noise. And then feel free almost always to email us with any follow-up questions. So let's say that while you're in this session, you want to take down some questions or comments that you have, please take it down and feel free to email it. We're going to provide our email address in the chat as well as in this presentation.
Thank you, Camille. So the objective of tonight's training is going to really focus and provide an overview on transition services and how these services support students in achieving their post-secondary goals. So in a nutshell, how to prepare students for life after high school. So over the years, we've tried to offer transition nights at schools and transition resource fairs, and it just seems like our feedback from families were very overwhelmed with the amount of information provided at one time. We also feel that in an IEP meeting, things kind of get overwhelming because so much information is coming at you at one time that it seems as if the transition resources and services really become too much. So the whole point of this evening is to really break down the information into small sessions. So over the school year, every month on the second Tuesday, we're going to break down the information into transition topics. These sessions, again, will be offered monthly. They will be recorded so that you can hear and learn about the information, but then also visit the presentation on YouTube so that you can review some of those really important details that we discussed throughout our trainings. We also have a parent Padlet that will provide you access to at the end. So when we talk about different tools and resources, you'll be able to go back and actually access those resources right on the Padlet. So we really have taken time to develop these sessions for you and to meet your needs and to be able to really chunk information so you can take the time to digest it and not be so overwhelmed with so much information coming at you at once. So this is the state definition of what transition services are. It's a process, okay? Transition services are a coordinate set of activities designed for the student's movement from school to post-school activities, including education, independent living, and employment. So this process really is student focused, and it can change as the student moves through middle school, high school, and possibly deferment programs. So now Camille's just going to go over what are transition services and what's included in the service.
All right, so transition services, they do include transition assessments. So we'll talk a little bit later about, what age that starts out and some of those questions that may arise as we're talking about transition services. But it would relate to every student, a transition assessment, as well as self-determination and self-advocacy. So this mainly, relates to a lot of our younger students, but all the way throughout until post-secondary education. So self-determination and self-advocacy, we're learning the students. And there's even a assessment about self-determination and self-advocacy to kind of see where the student stands with that, understanding their IEP, understanding some of the goals and accommodations that may have. And also not just understanding them, but now being able to advocate for themselves. Just the same way that we advocate for our students, we want them to be able to say, hey, here are my accommodations, or this is what I need. These are some of my wants, things of that nature. So also we're going over diploma options, course of study, and pathway. We will have another session where we can get into detail and talk about the meat of those three things. However, we want you all to understand that transition services, it does include, for our students with disabilities, diploma options, there's a course of study, and their different pathways. Community-based instruction. This can happen on campus, off campus, and honestly in the homes as well. And so that's where we're bringing this to you all so that we can give you all some examples of what transition services are and how they can actually be incorporated in the home setting as well as in the school setting. So these are some of the independent functioning tasks that we want our students to be able to do independently, successfully as they continue to grow and learn. We have many agency resources. So this is something that's inclusive with transition services. We will lead you to many different agency resources. We have several ways to do this. One of the ways we will show you all and share with you all is within our Padlet. We have a parent Padlet. So we have a technology-based way for you to receive these resources. And then you can also touch base with your school transition specialist or school staff, and we will also be able to share some resources with you all. You may have seen a provision of information. It is full of resources. There's 9 pages of resources that will connect you with various agencies. All right, and so honestly, all of the post-secondary options is transition related. So transition service related. So these are all of the things that we're working towards the pathway of your student or yourself. If you are the student on here today, what direction are you going to head in? But that comes with a lot of planning to get there. So that's where your transition services come in, that are offered not only by your transition specialist, but a team of people, which will list that team of people that you have that is a part of your resource in order to plan, so that the post-secondary options that you have available, that you know about them, that could include doing a tour of a site or various sites. We would recommend applications. What is the process? What are the interview processes to get into some of these post-secondary options? We will have other sessions where we talk about deferment, but we would like you all to know that deferment is an option for your student with a disability. They do not have to make that decision right away. However, we will have a session where we just go over deferment options, what exactly deferment is, what is deferment, and then what extended transition deferment programs that Broward County Public Schools has to offer. We do have various work-based learning experiences that we offer through various high schools around Broward County, and the students will go out into the community as well as work on the community sites so that they can gain lessons on how to be successful once they exit Broward County Public Schools. So these are some of the transition services that we provide, as well as the age of majority guardianship information. So as we highlight some of these bullet points, just keep in mind that if you're not at a full understanding of these things, we will have resources that you can go through, but also guest speakers will come on every second Tuesday as we break down some of these topics on what transition services are and what things that we can provide for you, so that we can have a comprehensive view of it.
Thank you, Camille. Yes, and just remember that when you look at the flyer and you see each month, every topic we offer is going to touch on a transition service. So we'll dive deep into that information so that we really can give you all of the options that your student has as they move through middle school to high school through deferment. So definitely come and join our session so that you can really learn each component of the transition service. So now let's get into transition planning. Let's be reminded that transition planning is not a one-time event completed by a transition specialist. I so often receive phone calls from parents saying, I need to meet with my transition specialist. I need to create a transition plan for my son or daughter. It is not a one-time event. This is a process. And the way I look at this process, I kind of use a visual of a butterfly metamorphosing because I always think, once our young adult is getting ready to go out into the world, I say we have to let them fly and be independent and go off on their own to the best of their ability. But it's a process. There's a phase in how that happens. It's ongoing. The most important part to remember is that the student drives the plan. It's an ongoing process. It's very fluid. It starts at the age 12 and it changes and develops with the student. So really, this is a process. The whole planning component has each section, and every section of that plan is what brings us to that post-secondary goal and outcome. And as Camille was saying earlier, it takes a village, and it does take a village to raise a child, as all parents know. So we really want you to be mindful of who to know on all of your campuses. It's not just the ESE specialist. There are several people on your middle school and high school campus that you can ask questions that need to be there to support your child. They are the experts in their area. So for example, a school counselor, they're a critical component of your child's education. They are part of the scheduling. They can assist your child with taking the electives and courses that they need. They can discuss dual enrollment options. So knowing your school counselor is very important. And the way most of our high schools have their school counselors is either by last name or grade. Also, you're a speech and language pathologist, possibly a job coach. Every high school has a job coach on their campus. Your brace advisors. Brace advisors discuss scholarships and financial aid, and they provide you with all the different post-secondary options, college, technical programs, apprenticeships, and they're right on your high school campus. Also, your support facilitator, your teachers, whether it's your general education teachers or your special program teachers, maybe the math or reading coach on your campus. Vocational counselors. We'll dive into talking about vocational rehabilitation through our session when we discuss agencies. This is a very important agency connection, and we'll talk about pre-employment transition services and adult services offered through vocational rehabilitation. And we have counselors that support all of our high schools. And family and community, they are a critical part of our journey while we're transition planning with our students. So it takes a village. This is our team, and we all need to work together to help our student rise up and achieve their goals. Okay, Camille, we're going to go to who are we and what do we do? Whoop.
Okay. I see family responsibilities. You want me to go ahead?
Sure.
All right. So here's one of the things that we wanted to offer, just our families to keep in mind. Feel free to, always pose a question. If you have anything that you're curious about, please, do so. Also, making suggestions to any of those people that Stacey mentioned in the village. Remember that they may have various resources that they can provide for you all as well. You want to make sure that you're keeping records of transition related services and activities. So this can go a little bit beyond just an IEP that, I understand that you will receive the printout of the individual education plan, but this may go a little bit deeper as in other sets of notes and other things that you can, set aside maybe for later that we need to discuss, but also that you want to get some clarity about. We want to make sure that you review graduation requirements. And I know that, some of you have elementary or middle school students at this time, but I tell you, my daughter's in 11th grade and graduation is right around the corner, and it just came faster than I could have planned for. So we want you all to just keep in mind that it will be here sooner than later. And we want you all to be very sure of all of the requirements that are set up for your students to be successful, not just in high school, but to be ready to graduate high school or meet all graduation requirements. We want to make sure that not only with the team, the IEP team and at the annual meeting, but also that you discuss the diploma options with the guidance counselor of the school. So remember that your student does have a guidance counselor assigned to them, and you want to make sure that you touch base because other things can be relatable for that student. And we will, like I said, have a session where we'll go over those options and have individuals to discuss them in detail. However, you can always get a printout of those options as you can, read and review them with yourself and your student. We definitely want to request that you set high expectations. You'd be amazed what your child can do that, once we put them in a certain environment and give them those opportunities, such as when we're doing community-based instruction, we have seen them, thrive and do things that they've never done before, but the expectation for their goals is there, and then we're seeing them meet and achieve them. So we want to definitely set those high expectations for that student so that we can make sure that they're thriving. Definitely discuss the plans for their life after high school. And I know this can change. I know, one minute they can want to be a firefighter and the next minute they want to be a nurse. I get it. As a mother of a junior, I understand. But we definitely want to make sure at least that we're steering them in that right direction on the pathway that they have decided and chosen. So we want to make sure that all of those resources can come together and we can provide that for them. But that's just talking about those plans. That goes into the transition assessment as well. But just to focus on, hey, how are you feeling about this pathway that you're selecting so that we can put things in place to make sure that they're successful. Also, we want to identify your child's strengths, needs, and interests. So that comes, not just academically, but what do they like to do socially? Because remember, this is all about a quality of life. So when we're talking about transition, we're not only talking about college or employment, but also how are they living, their quality of life? What are they doing to also enjoy themselves outside of? And how can sometimes we incorporate that with their employment? So that could actually relate to what they're going to do for a career. Also, we want to make sure that we're practicing those self-advocacy skills, having them tell you, express to you, what's going on with their accommodations, or are they receiving. The more we're having these conversations about their self-determination skills, the more they'll understand what exactly they should be receiving and how they can advocate for themselves, which is the ultimate goal. Another great idea is to develop a portfolio where you can maintain all of these things, because as the years go on, there will be so many different resources. I will be honest with you, there's new programs and facilities that open up every single day. So we're provided with new information as well. So this is growing. So the transition, the post-secondary options, they continue to grow and build, and you want to make sure that you know what's out there. So it's whatever you want to do. If it means that you're printing it, and maybe you're tech savvy and you want to save it in a document on your computer, but try to have a portfolio with your child's information and some of the resources that you would like to connect with. Last but not least, we want to make sure that we're exploring. I can't emphasize enough how much exploration is important and needed for our students, because there are so many options out there, you all. We're in Broward County. There are a plethora of places and resources that we offer. So we want to make sure that all of our students and our families understand what's out there as far as their technical colleges are concerned, apprenticeships, employment, colleges, universities, all of those things that, remember, we talked about setting those high expectation. We want to make sure that we're connecting those dots. And so we need to explore. So we're just offering some tips and tools that we've seen be successful in the past, not only for our own children, but for other students as well.
I agree, Camille. Families are an important part of the transition process. Students that have the best outcomes are when families take an active role in the planning process. And it's very important that you provide students with opportunities. Even in the home, you can recognize your students' strengths maybe on the computer or when cooking a meal. All of these things are strengths and interests of what your child or young teen likes to do, and that can really help us get them on the right path to meeting their post-secondary goals. And really that exploration piece, giving your students the opportunity to look at what programs are available, asking those questions on your high school campus or middle school campus. What are some of the career pathways? What are some of the programs where students can get certifications? There are 3 technical colleges in Broward that offer dual enrollment opportunities for students to actually leave high school with certifications in an area of interest. So we can really use those course of studies and pathways and dual enrollment to get our students to even be engaged in some of those career opportunities. So it's really important to ask those questions to your school counselors. And as Camille said, we're going to offer a whole session on diploma options, diploma designations, different pathways. We have an employment diploma option where you can use career and certification to substitute some of the core courses. So we're going to have guidance come on and speak with you. We're going to be able to kind of really dive deep into what some of those pathways are and what some certifications that we offer. And also with our deferment programs, it's never too early to reach out to one of our transition specialists to take a tour, come and see some of our programs, come and see some of our work-based learning programs, so that you can start to look at some of the programs that exist right here in Broward County that are available to your child and student to be able to really take an active part in their planning for their future. Oh, here's the slide. Who are we and what do we do?
All right. So The transition department, we do service, in the entire Broward County. On the next slide, we'll kind of break down the sections for you all. So one, of course, we service the elementary schools, the middle schools, but we're mainly in the high schools, the technical schools, non-traditional schools. So just keep that in mind if you're wondering, where does transition come in and where do we service? So that's one of the things. And then that list that we talked about, those transition services and what it includes, those are all of the aspects that we're working. So we'll break that down in just a couple of slides. We'll break down each of those for you.
So our transition specialists cover all of our middle schools with transition support to all of their program specialists, to their ESC specialists. We do professional development because we have students at 12 years old that have transition IEPs. So we have to make sure that we're sharing and getting the information out. We are a small team, but we do the best we can to build capacity by really building relationships and providing professional development and direct school support to get the information out to our students and our families. All of our transition specialists are actively involved in providing hands-on training, classroom support, professional development, and out on our job sites, making sure that our programs are moving along and flowing and our students are getting the support that they need, and more importantly, getting connected to gainful employment.
All right,
So
Stacy, we can see
yes.
family responsibilities on a screen. I want to make sure that we're all caught up with what you see on your side.
Oh, okay. I see transition specialist school assignments.
No, I see family responsibilities, but let me just Felicia, can you just confirm that you see the same thing before we continue?
I did. I saw family responsibilities, but I could navigate forward, but I don't know if everyone can see
Right.
that.
That's what we're seeing on this side,
Hey,
Stacy.
Camille, I'm
Okay.
seeing family responsibilities.
Okay, thanks,
Okay.
Stephanie and Felicia.
So I'm gonna stop sharing and then I'll reshare because
Okay,
I'm
great.
all the way up to who are we and our transition team.
Okay. All right. We want to make sure
Oh,
we're on the same screen as you.
okay. I'm
All
gonna
right.
stop presenting and then reshare. Technical difficulties. Let's go
Yeah, but
ahead and back
it's great because
in.
Althea had a great question. She wanted to know what are the names of the technical schools. Thanks, Felicia, for adding that in the chat. And other families, as you join, please feel free to utilize the chat. I think we have it working now. We're having some issues there, but I'm glad you were able to see that Atlantic Tech, Sheridan, and McFadden are the 3 technical schools that Stacy referred to earlier.
How are we doing now, everyone?
We
Are
see
we at
transition services.
Okay.
Is that what we should see? Okay.
Yeah, so
All
this
right.
is our fabulous team. We have 5 transition specialists and 2 district job coaches. Our job coaches support all of our high school-based job coaches and our deferment job coaches. They support them, they provide training, we collect employment data, we have monthly meetings. And they're out there doing the best that they can to connect our students to employment opportunities, community-based instruction. So we're a small but mighty team getting out there and sharing all the great stuff that transition resources and services has to offer your students. So you didn't get to see this slide, but hopefully you can see it now. These are the names of our transition specialists and the schools that they provide support to.
We'll also type in the chat our email address so that you can reach us. I know it's very small right there, but we want to make sure that you're connected with your direct transition specialist. Even if your child right now is in elementary or middle school, don't worry, we still can connect you. So we'll type our email address in the chat and we'll provide that at the very end of this parent session so that you all have a way to reach out. Thank you, Felicia, for that. And you can let us know that you're curious about the transition specialist.
And you'll also be able to access this updated list on our parent Padlet that we'll be sharing with you at the end of the session. Okay.
All right. So as we talked about who are we and what do we provide, we want to make sure that you know that Transition support services are provided to middle schools, high schools, deferment programs throughout Broward County. We do collaborate with that team of people that we listed, to let you know that, we still work with the teachers, the administrators, the school counselors, the job coaches, support staff. Also, we provide ongoing professional development. So we're in the schools and we go to the different high schools and non-traditional schools, and we provide training and staff for all for all of the staff, the administrators, our teachers, our job coaches, paraprofessionals. So we're out in the schools, not just the traditional high schools, but non-traditional as well. We are planning and monitoring the implementation of CBI, or community-based instruction. So we're making sure that our schools and our teachers, they understand what their responsibilities and their roles are, but also we're out in the communities to make sure that we're out in the community to make sure that we're also monitoring and making sure that the students are safe and that their goals are aligned. So anything that they're doing in the community, we are here to make sure that they're aligning with their post-secondary goals, because we know that that's the purpose of transition and why we're doing this. All right. And then also we provide curriculum and classroom assistance through our Canvas courses. We have 2 Canvas courses that all of our teachers and our administrators and staff alike, they're logged into, that they have the resources that they need to connect. Some of the things that are in your Padlet that you have, we just have a different way to do that. Also, we provide agency linkages. So sometimes it's not just us. Some of our transition specialists, they do go out and bring the vocational rehabilitation counselors with them. We are able to not just do virtual meetings, but now sometimes they will come onto the school campuses. And that's just one of the many agencies that we collaborate with, that we like to make sure that our families know are accessible to you all. And last but not least, we have life planning meetings that we're continuing to make sure that are happening in our schools, but we also provide the training so that all of the teachers and the job coaches know exactly how to execute life planning, which, as Stacy mentioned earlier, isn't just a one-time event, it's ongoing process. So this would include some of that exploration that we discussed, going into some of the adult learning facilities. And last but not least, it would be deferment meetings. So we do collectively come together to discuss the deferment programs, the openings, things that are available as far as our deferment programs are concerned, and how we can make it better for our students and families.
The life plan meetings and the deferment meetings take a little bit more time, because there is a process to deferring a high school diploma, and there is a process to interviewing and meeting the criteria to enroll into certain programs, because there has to be a post-secondary goal that's aligned. We have to make sure that there's the student's interest and preference, and then their skill set before they enroll into those programs. So that's why it's important to really learn and understand the deferment programs and options that we offer early enough before making those decisions. And again, we'll have a full session on our deferment programs, the criteria to meet to get into those programs, what the process is, and how to be able to apply. We'll have each of our program leads discuss what those programs entail, and the careers and the goals that need to be set in a student's IEP in order to defer into those programs. Our life plan meetings are very specific to our students who are aging out of school. So our students have the right to an education until they're 22 years old. Once they turn 22, they will age out of the school system into adulthood. So we create very specific life plan meetings for families to have access to agencies and adult programs and all the services needed to be able to support that young adult on the adult side without all of Broward County Public Schools services. We really take the time to work through the planning process. We offer trainings to families, but we also offer very personalized sessions prior to our students aging out of school. So a lot of our work is about informing and educating all of our teachers and all of the people that are a part of our village and our team to help our students as they navigate through this transition planning process. But our specialists really come in to work with families on these two life planning and deferment meeting process. Also, just so that you know, we do have a lens on all of our high school students just to make sure that we're connecting with the ESC specialists and teachers on the progress being made by our students. And if our students are falling off track of meeting graduation requirements, we will then push in and do some more transition planning to help provide the support and services needed for our students to stay on their high school campuses, maybe re-engage them and connect them with some job coaching or additional support if needed. So we really do wear many hats, and we're out there and we're visible and we're here to support all of our students really trying to achieve their goals. Okay, does everybody see the transition individual education plan screen?
Yes,
Yes.
age 12.
Okay, good. I don't want to just talk in my own world over here. Okay, so back in July of 2022, my, how time flies, House Bill 173 was passed. And when this bill was passed, it basically lowered the age at which we start transition planning. So the age now is age 12 or 7th grade. The individual education plan, otherwise known as the IEP, I try not to use acronyms all the time, is a required document that maps out the support needs of the students with disabilities. It describes the student's educational journey. And I think that if we can wrap our heads around it being a journey, maybe the meeting wouldn't be so office-like. I always feel like these meetings are always like, okay, we got to go through this step and this step, but it's a journey and it's a process, and it's all about the student. And it's going to change yearly as the student progresses towards meeting their goals. And as students age, the IEP requirements change. So just to kind of give you an understanding of the IEP requirements starting at the age of 12, it's just starting to transition over to the transition IEP. So first of all, we need to make sure that we're inviting our students to the IEP meeting. And in order for that to happen, our students really need to be an active part of their meeting. So we really need to start by really preparing the student. So we want to give them some tools to bring with them to their meeting so that they can talk about what their strengths and interests are, so that they can start to discuss, these are the things that I like, these are the things that I want to do when I get a job. So we really want to give our students the opportunity to have a voice at the table, because they are the center of this planning component. So it's important that we start to invite them to the meeting starting at age 12 or 7th grade, whichever happens first. We really need to work on assisting our students to prepare to be that active participant. I have seen some students create great PowerPoints that kind of highlight all of their skills, where they are academically, how they communicate, the things that they want to do, what they're interested in. And like Camille was saying earlier, maybe develop a portfolio to bring to the meeting. We have a tool, a 2-page tool that we created that I'll share with you in a minute, that can also be a great document, so that the student can kind of just visually see, this is what I want to do when I graduate high school, this is where I am now, and this is what I need and who I need to help me get there. This is also the time where we start to discuss some of those age-appropriate transition assessments. So it's important that we're identifying where the student is now. Maybe we need to see their level of independence. So maybe there's some hands-on activities that we do. There's several different assessments and interest inventories that can be used. We are now starting a new platform called Zello, which we'll be able to share with you as well, that has transition assessments available in there. And then we also have right built into Ed Plan, we have Path to My Future, which is a simple questionnaire that every time you do your IEP, you can go in and answer some of those questions. And as you progress through your plan, you'll answer more and more of those questions. And that simple interview can kind of just give us an understanding of where you're at and where you want to go. The also important component that's added to the transition individual education plan starting at the age 12 is identifying the need for self-determination instruction. So we really need to have our student be able to understand how their disability impacts maybe their learning and independent skills, and how to communicate for themselves to be able to make their own plans, and then to be able to say, hey, I may need an accommodation in order to access the curriculum. I may need an accommodation because I learn best when I sit in the front of the classroom. And so these are the things that we have to empower our students to talk about and discuss. Also, during this transition IEP plan starting at the age of 12, we begin to identify the students' needs for transition services. So just to kind of dive a little deeper into the elements of self-determination, it's a critical life skill. Being an active participant in planning your future takes a certain skill set. And I believe we all need this as humans. We need to be taught these skills. And a person with disabilities has to be able to navigate so many challenges and barriers that it's really important that we start to teach our students these critical life skills at an early age. So just to kind of go through a couple of them: choice making, decision making, problem solving, goal setting. And we can start right there, maybe setting some goals, and then let the student talk about this at their IEP meeting, because they have goals and they're going to set and plan those goals. Self-regulation, self-advocacy, our internal locus of control. How many of us need help with that sometimes? So all of these things, self-awareness. And I love this little element of self-determination chart because it breaks it down in a nice, simple way. And this is available on our Padlet, and it's also available on our Project 10 resource website that we'll be sharing with you as well. Moving on. Okay, so now at the age of 14, it officially turns into a transition IEP. And this IEP needs to be completely in place and operational on the first day of high school. So this really goes through all of the information on the IEP, where we use those transition assessments and all of the data and information gathered on the student to now choose our diploma option, our pathway, our course of study. It also gives us the opportunity to write measurable post-secondary goals. And these post-secondary goals is what drives everything, because basically the student is saying, this is what I want to do when I graduate high school. This is the diploma I want. This is the diploma track I want. And this is what I want to do when I leave high school. And the whole plan is about how are we going to get our students to achieve those post-secondary goals. Okay, and how are we going to be able to provide those supports and transition services to assist our students to be college, career, and life ready? So we now need to document all of this on our transition IEP. Another big component of this IEP is that we must document that we've discussed and shared all of the information about deferment and the student's right to defer their diploma and stay with us to enter into one of our extended transition deferment programs to get all of the skills that they need to be successful with their post-secondary goal. We need to document that we've provided you with the information. We need to document that you understand the programs that are available and what the process for deferment is. And we need to do all of this prior to the student reaching their graduation requirements. Because as soon as you enter the year that you're supposed to graduate, you have to make a decision. Yes, I'm going to defer my diploma, and I want to defer into this program to reach my post-secondary goals. Or you're going to say, no, I do not want to defer my diploma, and I'm going to take my diploma and graduate out of school and move on. And once you make that decision and you say no and you take your diploma, you no longer have the right to a free and appropriate public education at Broward County Public Schools. So it's a really, really big decision. So we want to make sure that you have this information way before you have to make that decision, so you can take the time to decide, you know what, I think I do need an extra year to explore some more careers and get some practice and stay, or maybe you don't. So, it's really important that this is really part of the transition IEP component, and the ESE specialist and the IEP team in the village all need to discuss this information and provide you the opportunity to explore those programs as well. Another big detail on the transition IEP is that you must understand that when your young adult turns 18, all rights transfer over to the 18-year-old. Okay, so 1 year prior to the student's 18th birthday, we are obligated to share all of that information with you. We need to let you know your young teenager is going to be an adult next year. All the rights that you had over that young adult no longer will you have, unless you have guardianship, and there's different levels of guardianship, and we're going to have an entire training with several partners that we have within the community to discuss with you guardianship options, and what happens when your young adult's age of majority comes and all their rights transfer over to them. So this is really important information that we have to document, that we've shared with you way in advance, so you understand that that's happening, and that you either take action to be able to figure out how to maintain certain guardianship, because once your young adult turns 18, they're going to be the ones that have to make the decision, even the educational decisions. So that's another really important piece of the transition IEP that I want you to be aware of. So this transition IEP, starting at the age 14 or the first day of high school, needs to be fully in place and ready to be implemented. It doesn't mean that as the student goes through high school, this IEP doesn't change, because it should change. So that's why we've created this tool, which is called our post-secondary planning tool.
I
So
have a
it's
question. I'm sorry if you ladies don't mind. My name is Monique Thomas. I'm
Monique, good evening.
Treyon's mom. He attends Cooper City High School. My question is, he'll be 17 next month. Will the guardianship meeting or Zoom meeting take place after he turns 17? Because I know that it has to be the year before he turns 18.
So he's turning 17 this year?
Correct.
Yeah, so the training for guardianship, I think, is, I don't quote me on what date it is, but we will have that training. But what I need you to do is I need you to email your transition specialist, and she will provide you with a pamphlet of guardianship information. And also your ESE specialist has a pamphlet and a page that you'll sign off on. So this is all going to be part of your transition IEP this year. But please reach out to your transition specialist. And I believe she just put her email in the chat, and she will share with you our guardianship resources and training information. We also have a great website that you can go to where they have virtual guardianship training, so that you can really kind of look and navigate through, maybe I just want to have medical proxy, and there are different levels of guardianship that you can choose and select. So go ahead and reach out to your transition specialist, and then we'll make sure that we continue to send home these training sessions to you, so that you know each topic that will be available during those times. But we're happy to have those conversations with you prior to our sessions.
Thank you so much, Monique, for chiming in. Please utilize the chat. If you all are unable to utilize the chat at this moment, please give us a few more moments just to complete this recording. recording. These sessions are being recorded, so we do want to advise currently not to utilize, students' names, and just a reminder for the school names, but we are happy that you all have questions. We definitely want to answer all questions, but for confidentiality reasons, we want to make sure that these recorded sessions are able to be posted onto our YouTube channel, with respect to everyone who is involved. So please utilize the chat, and then we are going to open it up. We're going to reserve the last few minutes for questions.
Yes, we want to make sure that we shut the recording off and open up the session for personalized questions and really be able to give you that time to ask and take notes down. So at the end, you can remember the questions that you wanted to ask. So I appreciate that. So this is a post-secondary planning tool, and really we created this for students to have because IEP meetings and IEP documents can be very overwhelming, and it's hard just to pull the information out that's very relevant to the student. So basically what this does is it gives the student the opportunity to write down their post-secondary goal in each area of education, employment, career, and independent living. And then as that goal changes, they can change it. It's they can type in it because it's a PDF, or they can print it out and write on it. And then underneath it, it basically gives the option for the student to write in all of the courses and classes and things that they need to do in order to achieve that post-secondary goal. And then the last section is a little note section that says, I met with my guidance counselor on this date. So what the student can take this document with them and show that they went to meet with that person to support them. I worked with this with my support facilitator. So they're really the village and the support people that are going to help the student with this post-secondary planning tool. So it really is just an easy document for students to be able to use and really kind of monitor their own progress, but also be able to speak about, this is what I'm trying to do. How can you help me get there? So I really do believe that this is a great planning tool, and we can work with our teachers too if we need to have some more visuals added to really accommodate all of our students and where they're at. Okay. Okay, so let's wrap our heads around this information and summarize kind of the flow of transition. So process, collecting data and information, and informal sessions are really informal assessments is really the transition assessment part. It's not about, oh, we're going to take one transition assessment. It's really a process of collecting all this information and gathering it together. And it really is informative about the student's strengths, needs. It's the big picture of the student, what their preferences are, their different interests as they change over time, academics, career, aptitude tests. All of this information is really put together, and that's really going to give us an understanding of where am I now? Okay. The second part is the measurable post-secondary goals. So we're going to use all of this information of where I am at now to now create post-secondary goals that are measurable in training and education, in employment and career, and in independence. And this is basically telling us, where do I want to go? So here I am now. Where do I want to go? And these are our post-secondary goals. That should change, right? Because as we're going through this process, I mean, how many times have you changed? When we do our training with our teachers, we always say, what did you say you wanted to do when you graduated? And, how many of you are doing that today, or are you doing something completely different? So it's very fluid. And then lastly, how will I get there? So that's the whole meat of the plan, is the instruction, the academics, the diploma options, the course of study, the pathway I'm on, and the transition services that are going to support me to get there. So really, that's what transition services are about. That's what the IEP really encompasses, and keeping that student in the center, because they drive it all. I did mention earlier Project 10, Transition Education Network. This is a fabulous website. It's user friendly. It has great tools. It has great trainings. It has all of the information up to date from the state, and it's all about transition. We are so lucky to have a great partnership with them. We collaborate with them constantly, and I have the website right here. I have it linked to share with you, but Lisa Chavez, who is our Project 10 liaison, is going to be presenting, I believe, in the next session or the session after. So she's going to come and she's going to show you how to navigate their entire website and all the fabulous resources that they have available. This is one of the resources they have available, and it's called the Secondary Transition Roadmap. It's excellent. It really takes you from mile 1 all the way through to mile 10, and it goes over benchmarks for middle school transition. It goes over all the components of the IEP. It goes over self-determination, self-advocacy. It provides agency linkages and resources. It gives you examples for transition assessments and interest inventories. It discusses affirm and everything, and it's right there in a handy dandy map that you can download and print. And last but not least, I've been discussing this all night, and this is our parent Padlet. I believe if you just put your mobile phone up to it and take a picture, it'll pop up. But if you also click on this link, it will pop up, and there is the address to the Padlet. I do have a few things I need to update on that, so just know that the Padlet's continuously being updated. And if you have any resources that you think would help other families and other students with their success in transition, please feel free to email me and let me know so that I can go ahead and put it on our Padlet. But this is a parent Padlet for you. It's broken down into sections, and you can click on those sections and you'll be able to see all the resources and information right there. And I'll continuously update that as things change with the state and with the district. Okay, and one last slide, and then I promise we open the floor for questions. Here's our contact information. This is my email for those of you who don't know me and don't have it already. And then there's Camille's email and her email address to contact her. We are here, to help you guys. We're here to support you to the best of our ability. We'll always be able to get back to you and just kind of connect you to the resources and information. And we really hope that you share these parent sessions, because we have designed them for you. We want your feedback. We want to know, did the information come to you? Did it come to you on time? Were you able to access, this session easily? We want your feedback, because we want all parents to participate in these sessions. We want you all to have access to the information and resources. So just kind of work with us on this, because I want to make this perfect and I want to make this really designed for you.